So to create the general ledger, we can actually take advantage of the transaction terminal we already created. And what we need to do is probably save everything we've done before. So I'll actually say close all tabs. Yeah. And this should save everything we've done so far. And come back to my Solution Explorer here, and we can actually minimize this. And we have everything saved. So what we will do here is, let me open this again. Yeah, everything looks saved. I will double click, or not, I'll copy that. I'll select it, copy it, and not the name, just this. Copy it and paste, no, this again. Copy this and paste it again. So here I'll have two of them. The second one here, I'll actually rename this as Form General Ledger. Right, so let's do that. So I have General Ledger, and as you all know, that this is going to cause some inconsistencies because it is not all perfect. So we need here to come here and change this to General Ledger. So that looks perfect. So this looks okay. We have General Ledger, and let's open this again. Yeah, we are proper. Let's go into the code behind file, and as usual we have this duplicated, so we have to remove it. We have to remove this, I think so. Yeah, I don't need that, and we have to make sure that oh, there's a problem here. We need this to be General Ledger as well. Ledger, and we need this to be General Ledger. And that is when we have everything in place. So let's do that again. Alright, so we have the General Ledger up here, and it looks good. So what we need to do is we'll go here, we'll open General Ledger, and we show we have then we have transaction terminal, and both are important. So we'll close transaction terminal and keep the General Ledger. So we'll open the properties and we'll change this to General Ledger. As the case may be, we need to specify that this is for a particular accounting period, which one actually we include. Another thing that we will do is actually I do not need this transaction details properties here. We don't need them, so we'll delete it. We will actually need ledger entries. Trust me, we'll actually need these entries, and we can actually rename this property here as journal entry. It's journal entries, and that looks okay. So what here we need to, I need to get this top here, and actually I do not know. We do not need these. Alright, we can actually do a whole lot with the General Ledger. We can sort by an account, something like that. That just touched me. We could actually have a search box and top where we can filter the ledgers based on a particular account, and that gives us more into the whole other things. So if that is the case, we actually do not necessarily need this side of the screen. We don't need the column 0, and let me see if we can actually get the column 0 out. So edit rows and columns, and we have this column 0 is here, and let me see if we delete it, what happens. Let's Control Z, let's cancel. Let's see. Okay, alright, that goes out perfectly. That's beautiful. What we need, we can push this upwards. No, we don't need to, because I told you I just have an idea here. So we extend this to be up more, and here we actually do not need this balances because we already know what this balance. In the General Ledger, we don't need the balance disparity. We just need the exact balance to be sure. And yeah, I think so. I think we were actually on point, so we can go ahead and delete this. And here, we do we need anything there? I'm not really sure. We actually need something there, so we can go ahead and delete. Let's come here. The second to the last row. So edit rows. Let's select rows, and I think this row we need it out. So I'll select delete and click OK, and that is better. Right, so we're getting our forms is getting into shed. So what we need to do is we need a group box here. So let's get a toolbox. We get another group box here, and here we can actually let's dock the group box as usual because we might want to do some things with it. Some operations can be done with it. So let's not give it a name, but rather let's dock it at the moment. Alright, so let's have that dock. So the general ledger, let's go to the code now because we have so many things that are not going to be right in there. I do not know where we need some form of filtering. Should we have allowed that to remain to allow us play with the ledgers and see some form of queries, something like that? I think it would have been a nice idea. I sincerely think so. But we don't need bind journals. Oh, actually we need bind journals, right? So this is perfectly very okay. We can actually bind journals, and that is good. Not journals per se. This is going to be different. Let's try to play more with this, and let's see what we can do with this journal ledger stuff. So let's keep it simple. Let's start from simple. First, get all the ledgers out, and we can actually perform operations on the rest of the properties. I think that is better, that is ideal. So what we need to do here is we can come back here. We don't need bind sources. If we need it, I would get it. We don't need that, and bind journals is actually very necessary. So basically we have this. Here it's actually different because the very main binding component, this is actually not needed. Journals clear is only first and foremost. Let's get this right. We have a counting period. We have a counting period data object. That is perfect. We have journal data object. This is not needed. Entries actually needed. Entry models very perfectly needed. And ledger we have this bind source is not needed. So this is not bind journals. This is bind journal entries. That is the ideal. So we will actually change this to bind journal entries. Now what we need to do is we don't need to check if journal entry is on because it's actually not going to ever be on. So this does not fly at this point in time. So what we can do is we don't even actually need to call clear. What we can do is we can look through what we have journals and actually perform some form of operations on it. So I think this is the best method. We should actually copy this, and yeah, I think this is the best thing we can copy, like this, yeah, this one, and come in here and put it here. Alright, that's what we should copy. Alright, that's what we are going to copy. So what we need to do is we need somewhere to actually get all the entries in the accounting period. And to do that, we can actually say bind journal entry. And to do bind journal entries, we can say var journal entries equals to, then go ahead and get account service, which is journal service dot get journal entries. We get journal entries. I think we should be get journal entries. Not by account. Let's have a good look at that service one more time. Here is actually get journal entries by account. Get journal entries by account. That is the only thing we have. I don't think that is sufficient for us. We need a way of getting journal entries by accounting period. So I'll go ahead and implement that process. Get journal entries. Get general journal entries. So if we use the word general entries, and here we can pass in GOID, accounting period. Right, so we know that there's a general ledger first. So we can have that specification. And here we do not have the implementation per se, so we'll have to actually wrap up the implementation. So service.get general journal entries, and here we need to pass in the current accounting period .id, and that is what we want. And we're definitely sure that this is not null, because this throws an exception if that is not specified, and that must be specified. That has to be specified if it is not. I will refer to this in another way. So for now, let it be that way. So what we need to do is we have journal entries. So what we need to do, we can go in and look through the journal entries and actually do the conversion that is required. And this is suitable enough. So what we need here is that we have the credit sum and the debit sum. So we need to talk only to the consolidated credit and consolidated balances. So the same thing we did for the transaction terminal. So we can come in here and grab a copy of this and put it in there. So here we have this. We can come in here and just do that in here. That is the only thing we need to do. And we don't have the selected index change event. This doesn't get to fire again in general. In the general ledger, and bind general is not required, but format read is actually required because we need this more. So for now I would actually remove this. Let's get back to this a bit more so we can have specifically what we need, so we can do this. And here we can save it, and we know that this is definitely going to carry an ID, so let's specify ID with false, and we can have account details. That's good enough for us at this time. So let's go ahead and still do a whole lot of refactoring to this. So we need to actually implement get general entries, because this journal service we have does not have that implementation. So if you come in here, we actually get an error that there is one service that's not implemented. So we can go here and actually make sure we implement that interface and that particular service, which is this. So here we just I don't like this pattern, so I'll refer it this way. Public INumeral get journal entries. All we need is we just need to copy this list of object and put it in here. And here we need to get journal entries by account. That is in the repository. Let me see the repository. Get journal entries. I think that is there in the repository. And get journal entries does not solve my problem. I need that by accounting period alone. This does not solve our problem. Get journal entries does not solve our problem. So this is accounting period ID. Get journal entries requires you to specify the account and the accounting period. We actually need to implement that in the repositories as well. So this is enough for what we want to do. But here I like to do something else. We need more details about these entries than what we already have on the screen. So we need to specify a whole lot of details than what we are actually getting. So I'll require we go to the repository and refactor the repository to actually give us what we want for these entries. So let's come to journal repository, and we have we don't have the specification in the in the domain, but we actually needed to have that. That is very much necessary at this point in time. We need to do that, but there is something we can do it by date range. We'll still get the same figure or the same values, but let's keep it that way. So what we need is get journal entries by, I think this actually returns a very healthy object that includes the journal, and that is very beautiful. Very beautiful. So we don't need to bother ourselves with that. So what we need to do here is we can actually come and copy most of the properties of the journal like we have here. The journal transaction date and the particulars and the reference code. We can copy that here. And the journal entry data object does not actually specify what we need, as that is a wrong object. That is not what we need. You actually need ledger entries, right? Something like that. So we can come back to our business logic and check out, do we have ledger entries? Obviously we do not have ledger entries. So let's check out, this is not good enough. So we need ledger entries. So we need to wrap up a new object. So we need to do something like this as a new object. And I'll actually rename this to be not journal entry object, so this will be a different object. So this will be ledger entry data object. Alright, so that is what I want. So here should be ledger entry data object, and this is better. Alright, and what this does is that we can go into the journal data object and copy the properties we want. Actually, we actually want the classification dates, this properties, this is what we want, and copy even the accounting period. We don't need the accounting period we already have. Those two, these properties I've selected, I'll just basically we actually need the journal number. So let's copy all that and come to this entry object. And we can actually put the nick here and have that. And we don't need this, we don't need the journal ID. This is actually different. We don't need the journal ID. We need only this journal ID. Well, do we actually need that? Probably we can somehow we don't need that. But we can have this. Let's replace it. We don't need the journal ID. Let's just keep that. We don't need the accounting period. We can already have it. We need particulars, reference code. We need this classification, and we also need their definitions, not just the classifications as they are written. We need their definitions. Alright, we actually need that. So here we need to copy this to here and put them here and change this to string. And here we need to specify that this our description, and that is what we need. So let's put this as description, and that is good enough. Actually they'll want default values, so we can actually make this nullable, and alright, that's good enough for us, and we're good to go. So this is our ledger entry object. And the next thing I like to do is that the journal service should actually not, they shouldn't be journal entry, they should all return ledger entry object. It's a different object, that is what we want. So we can change this to journal entries, the journal entries per account. That shouldn't be the name, they should be get ledger entries for account. So we can span this and refactor this properly. Alright, and get journal ledger entries. Alright, so that is better, so we can forget general ledger entries. So we can stun here and refactor this. I know this is going to impact our API, we can go ahead and change that as well. And this looks better. We have this object constructed better for us, and we can actually use that to return our ledger entry data object. So so much appreciate this. This is better. I appreciate this much more. And we can close this. Next thing we need to do is we can come into a journal service and change this to ledger entry data object. If not so, let's change this even so we get really risks of getting random list of errors. So here, not this ID is assigned here. So here this ledger is an ID entry.journal, because we should be able to have access to the journal object in there, and we can go in and add. And we show that we need to be sure that this actually gets the right journal object properties for us, so that we do not have an error. So what we'll do is if entry though journal is not equal to null, then we can pass in the journal properties like this. So we can say entry dot journal ID equals to this, and we're going to do that for a whole bunch of properties as well. And this is what we do. So we can get, for instance, we need to get this whole details properly. So we will do this. I will copy this and I will come to where we had not this is let's rename this to ledger entries properly. Ledger entries. Ledger entries, that is better. So we can come in here and pass in this object, and all we need to do is come here and specify this. We don't need we need the particulars, we don't need the ID, and we don't need this. Sorry. Alright, so we have those. Let's get the sorry about this. Let's format this properly. Let's return this to semicolons, and here instead of domain we need to put entry.journal. Alright, so we need to specify entry.journal, the transaction date, entry.journal dot this. Yes, entry.journal dot entry.journal. Yeah, we need to do that. We can do this here, and that looks better for us. But we have two cases. We need some way to actually get more properties of journal, and we need more properties of this. So we need to do this description like that. So we need to get this properly. So this is are you sure we don't have this? Go to definition. Does the ledger entry data object not have that? Go to definition. Oh, we missed one. So this is this. That's the correct one. All right, so we have that now. So here we need to pass in enum.getName, and here we pass in entry, not entry type. This is journal. This will be journal classification, like that. All right, I'm correct. All right, and this takes in that value, entry the journal classification. That will give us the name of it, and we need to do the same thing for definition, like that. And here we need to change this to definition. All right, that's better, and we will get the names. So this is what we need to do, and this is how we need to get these details out there. So this looks better, and get journal entries by account will run properly. And we need to just go ahead and copy all this again. Be sure that this is good, and come to this part of the equation and place them. Alright, that's what we need. And here we are going to get journal entries by counting period, and actually this is ledger entry, not journal. This is ledger entry, and this is general ledger entries. Right, that is better, and we need general entries by count. We need that implementation in our repository. So we can come to our repository, journal, and we can collapse everything, and we need two journal entries by date range by count. I can duplicate this, and here I can not even specify. This is not there. Let me duplicate this one here. Did I do anything wrong? Let's get this out. Alright, so let's duplicate this one here and this here. Alright, this is good. So here I'll pass in something that gives me just accounting period ID. And here I would not join this together. I'll say where no, this is not needed. Exit journal accounting period is what account period ID. That's what I need. And get journal entry with the same parameter. Oh gracious goodness, we have it. We have the same picture. But this implementation is not perfect because we need this implementation to be like this. So I can go ahead and copy this and put it here. And here we can pass in an ID. Okay, actually we have that in the database and that looks better. And meaning we don't need this here. Alright, that is better. I thought as much. I said we needed stuff like that. So that is proper implementation. So we can come here and close that. We can just come and say get journal entries. That should be enough. Can we go back to the repository and check that again? Get journal entries. GUID, get journal entries. That is good. Repo, but journal entry isn't null here. And I think there is a problem. Let's just check that. Get entries. Is it get journal entries or get entries? It's get journal entries. Let's check the repository again. So this is get. Oh, actually, this is a private. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Let's reverse this, please. This is going to. This does not do this. This does not need any include here. So this just goes ahead and grab this where journal ID equals to ID. Sorry about this. And I just spelled correct. Yeah, we showed that this is not null, but this is, I tried copying something like this here, so that was private and I did not even have a look at it. So let's keep on implementing this. Get journal entries, accounting period ID, and get journal entries, or get general journal entries. Let's use the word general journal entries, and here we need to specify just that alone. And we're good to go. Alright, so that's what we need to specify. I just believe this doesn't break what we had before. So that being done, we need to implement this in our contract, and our contract is in our domain layer. So what I will do is I will go ahead and implement something that has this signature. So it's a repository again. Alright, so I'll implement something that has this signature, get general journal entries. In the domain of our application. Right, so I need to go ahead and implement that right away. We're back to the real TCS accounting domain, and let's come to our journal repository. And actually, we need to implement that functionality in here. So here we can come in and specify enumerate journal entries, get journal entries, journal entries, and that's all we need to do. Once we build that, we just go ahead and rebuild this. And let's see that actually this does not generate any error. And actually there's an error, so we'll have to go ahead and check why that is so. So the test projects actually are failing because get journal entries is, let me check here, get journal entries. This is inside my service. Don't worry about that. We'll resolve that later. But this is inside the business logic. And we can go ahead. Don't worry, let's go ahead and implement this. So we can go ahead and say this.get general journal entries. And this is good. Let's check the error list again. And that was why it was failing. So go ahead and rebuild this. Let's be sure that everything is working fine before we go back to the presentation solution. And this actually the test is failing. Journal service, get journals by account. Why is this so? Do we actually have a get journals entries by account? Yeah, remember this is actually now get ledger entries. This is the API we are working on, so we say get ledger entries by account. That is better. Alright, thank you for that. Let's go and check for another error. Account service, journal account service. Now when we were doing the test, we were actually using journal service, so everything is breaking here. So let me fix this. This is outside the scope of Windows Form application. This is something we've been doing in the TCS accounting video series. So let me use that opportunity and resolve this now. So here we have journal service, and this takes an account service. So we need to actually report an account service for this application to utilize. Alright, since this is a test, I will keep it for the test part of our application, and I'll resolve this later. Alright, no problem. So we have to actually recognize the changes we've done outside this particular solution and grab that in here. So we've done that. So we now have get journal entries, and this is what we journal entries. This is what we want, and this is good. We have this is good. So we have get journal entries per account. I'm not sure that, okay, this is ledger entries per account. This is good. Let's go ahead and rebuild this in case for us to see if there are any errors here. And there shouldn't be anyone. Alright, so we're good. We're actually good. There are no errors in here. So we can come back to our general ledger form, and actually we know what we're calling. We're actually calling here, we actually get general ledger entries. That should give us one general ledger entries that we have in our system. So let's go ahead now and run this and see if we actually get that successfully, and then we'll know what to do. I think there will be an error because the balances here are actually going to be different. So I'm expecting an error we can't get that because we didn't do this into the dependency injection container. So we actually need to do that, and we can come back to this project, and we can come to program, and here we need to inject general ledger. So here we need to do form general ledger, and that is good. And we need to implement that in the shell as well. So click on general ledger, we should have this new form. Alright, we need to do that, and we need to say form general ledger. We need to get that there as well. Alright, and that's what gets us running. but there's something, thank God we have and we can come back here. The consolidated balance is actually, okay, this is correct. It's talking to all the debits in the whole model and all the credits. This is good. All right. So let's run this again and actually see how the general ledger looks like in runtime. So we're here and we click on general ledger. All right, we have first error. Object reference not set to the instance method. Do we actually have an ID property for that object? I sincerely don't think we do. So that is not necessary. So we can come back there. I'm not sure we do that. We actually don't have that. So let's load that properly. Because the journal entry model is actually doesn't have a stateful ID. And so we don't have that. So let's see what we've got here. So we have, this is our general ledger loading perfectly, and we can format this to reflect the rest of the fields and their details properly. Alright, so this is good enough. This is our general ledger and it's showing what we need to do, but it's just showing the account and amount, and it doesn't show us the particulars of the transaction. So let's go inside and add the particulars of the transaction and give real value to our general ledger. So what we have is we have accounts details, which is good, and that is better. And we need some form of, I think there is a little change now that is going to make us completely restructure our application. I don't think we need this journal entry models again. Alright, we absolutely do not need it. So what I will do is I will go into this object, and you notice we have this convention, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to copy this convention, and I'm going to the ledger entry data object, and I'm going to put it right in here. Alright, I'm going to put it in here because we need it. That is one thing I'm going to do. The next thing I am going to do is I'm going to make a whole change to this general ledger. We actually don't need this list model. We have no idea. We have no need for it because we know how we are going to get it. So what we need to do is change this list from general entry model to ledger entry data object. And here I'm going to say ledger entries. So here I'm going to I'm going to rename this to ledger entries. So I'm going to do this, refactor this to rename this. I actually want to rename this to ledger entries. That is one. Here I am not going to do this. I want this to actually be null at first, and that is intentional. So here I'm going to do that. We don't need to do this again, and we don't need to do this because we are actually having the exact object we want. All right, so we don't actually need to do this. What we need to do in this case is we just need to specify that ledger entries equals to this. Finish. And we only need that. That's the only thing we need. And here is saying, yeah, we can get this to list. And that is perfect, and that's good. And we have everything in place to make our code work beautifully well. So we can go ahead and format this a bit much better than what we did before. And truth be told, we have not formatted the journals properly. We've not had a good grade look of the journals. Right? So what we need to do that now in this point. So we have account details, we have debit and credit. So we need to add more features to it. So here I'm going to add particulars, journal numbers, and a whole lot of the reference code firms there. And that's the only thing I will add for now. So the very first thing I'll need to add is journal number, or journal. Just put the journal. And here we're going to change this to, I think that the object details is journal number. Let's go to this legendary, this journal number. Yeah, that's what I want. and that's beautiful. The next we have the account details, which is fair enough. And the next thing I need for us to have is we need to have the transaction date and the particulars. For instance, those are the things I need. Transaction date and particulars. Actually, I will actually need the transaction date to come in a bit early, so I'll put that. We can put that before. Let's put that before the journal number. Alright, so let's have transaction date first. Be the first thing. So we can have transaction date. Transaction date. And we have transaction date. We have journal, and that is good. We have particulars. And here could be 0, there should be 1, journal number, and there should be 2, displaying date should be 2, account details, and this should be particulars. And here we can have account details. By the particulars, we can actually have journal number and reference code, like that. Let's put that there. So we can have reference code, something like this. Reference code, and we can have reference code, right? Yeah, or ref. Just put the word ref code, right? We can have that. And we can put this to be 2. This should be 3. This should be 4. And this should be 5. Account details not necessary. This should be, there should be 5. This should be 6. Amount visible false, and the job description false. That is the only thing I want us to show. I'm good with that, and let's keep that like that. So we have those details. Let's go ahead and let's check this out yet again. I think we've got all we need: journal, classification, description, and good definition. Alright, that's good enough. Let's go ahead and make sure we have that inside there as well. So what we need to do is we'll copy this and come down here and put both there. So here will be 7. Display index 7 and display index 8, and here will be definition, and here will be classification, and here we will actually have this to be journal classification, description. And that is good, and here we'll have the journal definition description. So we have that in place, and then we have the amount, not the amount, we don't need amount. Let's go ahead and see how that looks, that formatting looks now. So we have those ready, so let's go in if you're ready. Wow, this looks much better. So we have transaction date, we have particulars, we have accounts details, we have ref code, we have the ID and some other properties that are not supposed to be there. We will trim them out, and let's trim them and make them better, but this is what we want. This is what our general ledger should actually look like. We can choose to put the debit and the credit at the end and have a running balance if we want to, but trust me, not necessary. Let's keep it this simple. Alright, so let's format this again and make this better. So what we will do now is that we have a couple of columns that should be visible, and the very first one, ID should not be visible. This should not be visible. Visible false, and journal ID should not be visible. journal ID should not be visible. I forgot we shouldn't have closed that. We should have allowed it so we can know which one shouldn't be. We know entry type, journal classification and description, definition should not be. Journal classification should not be visible. Journal definition should not be visible. And those are the ones I can remember. Let's just check this again. I would see another one. Entry date should not be visible. Yeah, account ID should not be visible. So let's come back here. Entry date should not be visible. Entry type, entry date should not be visible. Account ID. Okay, I think that looks perfect. Let's go ahead and check that. If we're in the right order, then that is good enough. Let's run this and let's make sure we have this load again for us to have a look. Let's open general ledger and we can see, wow, this looks clean and better. Right, so we have account details and we have the account, the debit and credit, and we see that we have a balanced general ledger where we have all the transactions posted. By the way, the ideal thing is we're not supposed to have debit and credit here. They're supposed to be at this part of the screen. So I would actually shift the debit and the credit to this part of the screen. That makes it better. I think that is much better than how we have it currently. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we need to do is to change the position of debit and credit. And let's get this up there. X. So we can get this up here and put them here. Sorry, that's actually missed that X. Alright, so let's put that here, and here should be 5 and 6. Here should be 7 and 8. Alright, so we have that better. So that is better for us at this point in time. We're good, and we can actually come back here and look at it in a very clear way. That is how a general ledger should look on paper. So here we have this, and we have this general ledger. Right? Oh, I think we've done something wrong. We actually missed something. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do this again, please. I have 0 transactions at 1. This may exclude if this is for 5 and 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's what I said it should be. Why is not option format create? You save that. Let's run that again. Let me see what happens. So we can come here and put down here. I still don't know why this is aligned here, but I will go ahead and check that. Let's close this completely. Stop this. Reveal the entire product. Reveal solution. So we've actually revealed that. I think I'm missing something. So this is 5. This is 6. This is 7. And this is 8. Let's close this and open it again. General ledger. Let's open that again. Alright, that looks good. Let's run this again and be sure. Probably I'm missing something. There's something I'm supposed to do in the door. So let's have general ledger in there again and let's select it and see. I don't know why this is still sticking to this part of the screen here. But there we go. Okay. It's okay. There we go. I don't know why this is so because actually general account details, simple entry. I think we're actually missing something. I'm actually missing something. What it is. I'm actually missing something. Let's do it again. Let me go through it carefully. So yeah, we have transaction date with the screen date 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh gosh, I see it. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have 7, 8 as display index for this tour account. Okay, we will be hearing soon. Alright. I'm probably not saying a bit moment. Alright, so this is how we want accounts to be. Alright, we have our general ledger. A sort, we can filter by an account, and we can do a whole lot of things to this part of the application. Let's add additional components to the general ledger. First, we have a group box here, and what we will need to do is I would like to have another group box like this, and in here I will define some form of, instead of doing this, let's just let's delete this. Let me do this. Let's go to the Solution Explorer and let's open Transaction Processing Terminal. So here I will copy the account details here, just that, and I'll come to the general ledger here, and I'll put it in here. So we have our account, and that's one way we can filter. And the next way we can filter is we can, I think that is okay by just the account. Okay, another thing we can have is some form of classification, something of that sort. Or let's do this. Let's copy both. Let's copy both and put this here. And here we have this specifications in here. And we can use this to perform some form of querying or filtering on this transaction grid. So we can have that to allow us to do some form of filtering. And for now, let's filter by a particular account. So I'll do that. Let's dock that point of the screen. This is good enough. You can do as many things as possible in here. So what happens here is that we will, once we enable filtering, I'll put in a specification to enable filtering. And once that happens, we can actually do something else with it. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So here we will add a checkbox just to sort of enable filtering. So we will say this checkbox should just enable account filtering. So here we'll call it something like enable, just enable. Just put enable there, and we can give the name to CB enable, like that. And here we can, once this is enabled, we can actually enable this and allow filtering. So the toggle state here should actually control what happens here. So we can double click into this object, and if this .cb enable, should we use enable? Yeah, let me just do for that enable.check. If that is checked, then we can do the CMB account, or let me use the word this checkbox on CMB. CD enable equals to true. Else we can say else, if it's not the case, we can say this .cb account .enable equals to false. So we can toggle those two properties to have a good look at it. So this would toggle those two states, and that is what happens. Now the next thing that will happen is we can come into the general, to selecting the statement of the account, and we can actually write instructions on this. And actually we will need something to always toggle this check. Alright, if this is checked, we can go ahead and as well write some form of instructions that actually do a form of query. So what we will need to do is, if this is checked, once that happens, we can come in here and filter the ledger entries to that of the account. Alright, so we can come in and do that. So what will happen here is, if this is checked, we can do this. We can create grab the selected, so we can say for selected account equals this .cv selected item, not the selected value selected. And we can also, I saw something interesting, and ask account data. Let me just see, is that some form of casting? Yeah, let's try and check that out, and let's see what that is. So we can do selected account like that, and we can also do this. We can go to ledger entries, and ledger entries dot where we can use where we specify that x equals to x passing this number dot account maybe, because that is necessary, equals selected account dot id. So we can do some form of this, and this can only be there if selected account is not null. If it's not null, we can do this. We can actually do that if that is not null. And how we can do is we can come to say that entry, we can reset entry. And by the way, let's do it. For account entries, let's do it. Account entries. Let's do the filtering like this, equals to this, and we can say if account entries dot any, if there's anything in this entry, then we can go ahead and find the current entries for data source equals to account entry. Even when there is nothing, we can actually bind that. Not even when there is nothing, we can actually bind that. So let's do this. Let's actually remove this, not necessary. So because if there's nothing, there is nothing. We should return an empty list. Alright, so that is what we will. If there is a selected account, and if there are no selected accounts, so what we do is difficult. But if there's none, so we can say else, we can still say entry, we go bind entry to we still do what we did first. We still call ledger entries equals to the entry data source is still this. it's still there. If selected account is not null, then we can go ahead and do that, and that still remains. And what we can do is, after this, we can say bs or entries dot reset bindings, and here we can pass in false because the metadata has not changed. Let's go ahead and check that implementation if that satisfies what we want to do. So let's go ahead and run this now and check this out. So we have that running. Let's go ahead and have a good view of it and see what happens. So we select general ledger as we did before, and we can this is wrong, this shouldn't be there. Alright, so we can go ahead and change that. And actually I did not populate this, so let's go ahead and populate that because we need to do that. That is one. So let's come to this transaction processing terminal first. Let's go there first, and this is actually taking time to load, so we can come here, come to Solution Explorer and open this. We need to bind this account, so we can go to the code behind file and we can say bind sources. So we can do this now, and this is what we need. Not that one, we actually need let's copy all this like this. Alright, and let's copy this and come to general ledger and put it in here. So we can put that in here, and we don't actually need section, it's not necessary. We don't actually need classification, it's not necessary, but we need general classification and general definition. Then here we just need all the accounts, not just Bardyuzha classification. So I think we have account service. We actually have account service in here. We don't have account service, so we need something that returns an account service. So we can say read only by account service, and here we can pass in account service. And that is what we need to do. We can go ahead and add this constructor, and we have it here, account service, account service, right? As practice, I'm putting it here first, so let's put that there. And here we can come back to our account service and just get accounts, and all the accounts in the system should actually be there. And if list account, no, we don't actually need to do this, we just need to compare this to be here. Alright, finish, and we'll bind the account. So what we need to do is bind source and bind accounts. So once we come here, we can bind accounts, and we can also bind source. Alright, so we can bind accounts, and let's go to that method. This actually does not require this, so that's all we need. It doesn't require that, and that we're good. So if this is enabled, and another thing is when the form is loaded, we want the following to be: we want the this.cb account.enable equals to false. Alright, we don't want that to be enabled at first. We can actually do that for the rest of the properties. So I'll leave that for you to do in your practice. So let me just show you how to get one thing to filter, then you can do it for the rest of the journal classification and the journal definition. So let's get that rolling. So we'll select general ledger again, and you see this is there. So let's enable this. Once we enable this, we can go inside and actually change this, and you see there is nothing there. And let's change equipment. There is nothing, and we can go to cash at hand and you can see we have 2 transactions for cash at hand, and that is, and you notice they are actually balanced as well. So you can also select for office logistics, I think so, and we have 1 transaction for office logistics. We can check at Thompson's, nothing. We can check at some liability. We have 2 transactions for some liability. But there is something that is obvious. I think we've lost the formatting of our grade, and that is one of the. Alright, let's go ahead and revert that. So we've done that, seems to work the way we want it, but we actually have lost how to format this grade. So what I will do is I will take advantage of the bind entries here, and this time I'll create a nullable type. Alright, so I'll say GUID, which is something that can take null, and we can say ID, accounting period ID. Not necessarily accounting period ID. Okay, account ID. Let's do that. Let's wrap that method that way. So if we can do this like this, and this actually makes a whole sense now. What happens is we need a way of no, let's not do this way. Let's keep bind entries as they should be. But what I'm interested in entries data source specification, the format view, and the consolidated properties. That's what I'm interested in. So here we can actually abstract this out and have it in a different implementation. So you can come on here and say entries. Let me say get entries. Let's use the word get entries, and we can get that in there. And here we can actually specify that this should actually take a data source without anything. So the data source can actually be something like this, a list of ledger entries. So we can come in here and pass in the list, and we can pass in entries. All right. And or let's just say format entries. Let's just say, instead of saying format, we can say manage entries. I'm actually not finding the adequate word to specify this. So this here, I don't know. Yeah, let's use this, and here we can change this to be entries whatsoever we pass in. There's a conflict here. This shouldn't be entries. This should be bindable entries. Bindable entries. Right. Let's use the word bindable entries. So we can come here and specify bindable entries, and that should be proper bindable entries. That looks better. We can do that, and that is what we want. And here, actually passing the entries we actually want to bind with the specification. So here we are not going to get ledger entries. We're going to process bindable entries like this, and this is better. All right, that looks better as far as I'm concerned, and this is good. So here, when we are binding the folder, we can say alright, so let me say process bindable entries. Alright, so here we can also come here and actually call process bindable entries and pass in ledger entries. Like that looks better. Okay, so this has the proper formatting. And we can come here, and instead of us to do this processing as we actually did, we can come in here, and this actually this only gets to happen if the entries are, if the selected account is not known, right? So I don't think we actually need this. We can pause that, but here we can call we did a build. Sorry about that. We can actually call bindable entries and pass in the account entries we want. Alright, pass in account entries, and that looks better. Alright, that is much better. And here we need to actually specify that this is a list. So we can do to list, and that should resolve that property. So this we can do process bindable entries as per that list. And we go ahead and reset the bindings and set it to false if that is selected. So here this has to come in here if it is enabled and it is checked, right? If that doesn't happen, then none of this runs. When we come out from being enabled, what happens? So once you uncheck this, if this is enabled, this is what happens. If this is not enabled, right? So if this is not enabled, you can go inside the else, and we can actually call. We don't need to call this twice. We just need to call it once, and we can. Alright, let's leave that here. Let's just keep that here, and this is good enough. But here, if this is checked, CB account with enabled true, alright, and you know what to do. But if that is not checked, you will need to a way of reverting back to how it was initially. And at that point in time, because it could be some form of manipulation, you should call this dot, just call the private method this dot bind general controls. I feel so. Alright, just call that back, and that knows what to do exactly. So let's go in, I think that is good. With bind sorted, we formatted it. Let's go in here. So we're back here, and let's have a look at this. And this looks good, so let's toggle this. Nothing happened. Let's select regular cache, nothing. And let's select equipment, nothing. Then let's select some liabilities, and we have our record showing properly. So we can see that this works well. Let's select cache at hand and see that is perfect. And let's select automate office logistics. This is good. Alright, so this actually is good. We see that this is better. We have the accounts, and they're all fine and showing properly. Now let's untoggle this, and we get the full details of how we should do. So that is somewhere we can manipulate our account and our ledger and print that account. So we can do additional things. We can embed a print functionality that allows us to print ledgers here. That is one thing. We can print a particular account ledger. We can print a trial balance from here. We can see the trial balance and get it. We can also manipulate this filtering based on simple entry, purchase entry, sales. I would allow you to go ahead and do that, implement that. Get your hands dirty implementing that, and that is how you build a sufficient experience in developing applications using Windows Phone application. Another thing is that you can, let's minimize minimize that. We can put this part of the screen, we can see so what we can do is that we can put a toolbox control here. And if you put a toolbox control here, you can actually, like what is now in the Visual Studio environment, like this here, this environment. Alright, these are the toolbox control. You can also do that in your application. Put a toolbox control and allow the users, and that's how you can add value to your application. Alright, so I believe you enjoyed this minimal series. If you want me to do more, just drop a notification or send me a message on whatsoever thing you're doing, you're having challenges. I will help you resolve it. Alright, thank you. and I believe you enjoyed this series.